It's a Wednesday edition of Locked On Grizzlies, a Thanksgiving Eve installment of the podcast. Damichael Cole and I back together talking about things we're thankful for, some gratitude for the Grizzlies on this Thanksgiving Eve. We are not thankful for Ja Morant once again having an injury, keeping him out of basketball, but we are happy that there is basketball tonight between the Grizzlies and the Detroit Pistons. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Grizzlies. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Locked On Grizzlies. It is I, Joe Mullinax, joined by my co-host, Damichael Cole. So happy to have you guys with us on this Thanksgiving Eve. If you are on the United States side of things, obviously a big holiday coming up here in the U.S., doesn't get much more American than watching football all day and stuffing your face with food. So I think that's about as good as it gets when it comes to the American side of things. So if you celebrate, happy Thanksgiving. We will have a Thanksgiving episode of the show post-game against the Pistons, talking about that and so much more, I'm sure. But obviously, this is the last time Damichael and I will be together. Before that, Damichael's going to fly solo on the Thursday edition of the show. So from ours to yours, happy Thanksgiving, and we're excited to have you with us here on Locked On Grizzlies. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhoodgold.com/gold. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts as proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Literally anywhere you get a podcast, you can get Locked On Grizzlies. Make Damichael and I a part of your Memphis Grizzlies content consumption each and every time that an episode drops. And remember, we have the Locked On newsletter now. It's, again, top 7 in the network, which is great. I'm thoroughly enjoying. I write for Grizzly as a contributor. I wrote a piece about Marcus Smart as a sixth man, potentially, or reserve.
Really good piece.
Thank you, Damichael. I really appreciate that. So I used to write a lot, right, back when I was running Grizzly Bear Blues for SB Nation and then over at Bluff City Media for a little while. Used to write a good bit, and I missed it the last year. So it's been really cool to get into the newsletter, sink my teeth into that. And I'll talk about what I talked about on the newsletter here in a moment. But LockedOnDaily.com, make sure you're subscribing, get Grizzlies content, national content, all sorts of great stuff from Locked On in your inbox each and every day. Check out LockedOnDaily.com and subscribe to the free Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. Damichael, we'll talk about Ja Morant being hurt again in a moment, but I wanted to start off on a positive note. You know, as I mentioned a moment ago, you'll fly solo on the Thanksgiving episode of the podcast. I'll fly solo on Friday. So this is our last time together for the week. I'm thankful for you, of course, partner, that all the
thankful
great
for
work
you too.
Do over at Commercial Appeal there in Memphis, Tennessee. And of course, here with me on Locked On Grizzlies. The show keeps growing by leaps and bounds, and it's exciting. And it's, it's great to be working with you as always. But from a Grizzlies perspective, this is what I wrote about in our newsletter today. If you haven't gotten it yet, you can check it out at LockedOnDaily.com, or you can just wait till it ends up in your inbox, whenever that might be. But I wrote about reasons to be thankful because this time last year, and again, I think I quizzed you on this a couple of weeks ago and you nailed it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to do it to you because the numbers are getting higher. The Memphis Grizzlies they are currently 11-7, right? And I think that has them in the mix for the 5th or 6th seed in the Western Conference as of this recording. This time last year, they were 3-13, and they most certainly were not in the mix for the Western Conference playoffs. The Memphis Grizzlies were winless at home at this point of the season this time last year. I think it was 0-8. Obviously, Memphis has already won 7 home games this season. There is just so much to be excited about with this Grizzlies team compared to what the experience of last year was. That's a good place to start on this Thanksgiving Eve, partner. The idea that at least we have a team to follow and cover that is at the very least competitive. And realistically, the numbers back up what our eyes tell us. They're among the best in the NBA.
I mean, that is something definitely to be grateful for, a competitive and a team that's in the mix. Grizzlies fans, you should know for so many reasons why to be thankful for such a team. For the Grizzlies, for the real OG Grizzlies fans who've been here 20 plus years, I remember being a kid and hearing all the time about how the Grizzlies have never won a playoff game, and just seeing them go to the playoffs, and you just never expected them to win a game, and then they would get swept. And the grit and grind era happened, and you saw what competitive basketball like. I know I still have fans come up to me, and we have small conversations about what the grindhouse looked like in those playoff games. And Joe Mullinax, I'm sure you know it all too well, but just the atmosphere that was inside of those playoff games. But when that era kind of left, there was kind of a gap there, and the emergence of Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, is this new core, and what they've done to kind of solidify themselves as that core in Memphis. And now it feels like when those three guys are on the floor, I mean, when they're on the floor, but it hasn't been a lot lately, but when they're on the floor, it feels like you really got something special. That's definitely something to be thankful for, especially after the way that last season went. You're always trying to find the beauty in some of the ugly situations, and I feel like one of the beauties in last season was you knew that when this season came around, those little wins they would mean a little bit more. And the fact that this team is 11-7, I think no one's taking that for granted after what happened last season.
Jaren Jackson in particular, you mentioned both Ja and Jaren there, of course, Desmond Bane as well, the big three.
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson Jr. has been a revelation, right?
He's
really
an
playing
all-star.
at an all-NBA level, all-star caliber guy. Victor Wembanyama exists, so I don't think Defensive Player of the Year is in the cards for Jaren or anybody really, as long as Wemby's around and healthy.
I don't know, man. But Dyson Daniels is
doing some good things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Draymond Green, the way that the Warriors have been playing of late, Draymond's the catalyst for that defensively.
It's easy to just hand it to Wemby, though. I'm with you. I know, but
he's something special. That
he's
Wembanyama.
He's different.
But Jaren as a two-way player is probably having his best season. It's almost like he was smart.
He's doing everything
to not take the extension over the summer and wait. Let's just see how the season goes. Right? I'm sure he's thankful that he made that choice. Jaren Jackson Jr. has been the MVP of the season so far, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that maybe next week as we've officially hit the quarter mark for the campaign. Being thankful for Jaren and the way that he's playing, being thankful for the depth of this team, guys like Jake LaRavia, Santi Aldama, who the team did not opt to do extensions with in terms of contracts. Those guys
restricted free agent
well
at the end of the season. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. You have Scottie Pippen Jr. and Jay Huff, guys who were on two-way deals several months ago, now that are full-blown members of the roster. Up and down, left and right. There's so many positive stories. And again, not to beat a dead horse, Ja Morant was not playing this time last year because of a suspension, right? It wasn't injury related. He wasn't playing because the NBA said he could not. It feels like that cloud has lifted, and obviously Ja is not currently healthy, and we'll talk more about that here momentarily. Mm-hmm. But it's a situation where they feel like they're back on the path that they were on a couple of years ago. And I write in the newsletter that maybe the vibes aren't immaculate like they were back then just yet, but they definitely feel like we're on the road to healing. Maybe the bottom falls out from us at some point, partner, but I feel like nature's healing a little bit when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, it feels like it's on that way because, what'll make those immaculate vibes that you talk about from a couple years ago come back is pretty much just Ja being consistently available. That's it. Like when Ja Morant consistently, we saw what he played 23 minutes a couple of days ago, and the number of highlights. The number of highlight plays we saw. Ja Morant has this unique gift where 2 or 3 games, and sometimes one game, if you go back to that 50-point game against San Antonio Spurs he had a couple years ago, sometimes one game for him could be like some guys half season or full season worth of highlights. So part of that swagger and that this team plays. Well, I talk to the players a lot about, the Grizzlies have this, they aim to play really fast, and when Scotty's in, they play fast. When Dez in, they play fast. When Marcus is in, they play fast. But when Ja is in the game, it's turbo speed. And every player that I've talked to on the Grizzlies team about this pretty much says the same thing. It's different when he's out there. It's all about consistently, and we'll talk about it, but getting him out there. But, that system that you should be thankful for depth too, because I'm not sure the Grizzlies would be able to play this system right now this early in the season without this kind of depth. So that's definitely something to be thankful for. But Jaren Jackson Jr., you just touched on him. He has been, nothing short of a revelation over the last couple years from an availability standpoint and just the growth in his game. I think Jaren is someone that the fan base, even, there were kind of some mixed viewpoints on Jaren once upon a time. I think even the people that used to complain like about his rebounding are kind of just like, you know what? Dude's so good at everything else. Like, it's like with that, it's like with that one crush you have. Like, it got that one flaw, but so many other good things about him. You just try to put that in the back pocket.
Yeah. At some point, you have to accept guys for what they are, and I think Jaren's a really freaking good basketball player. I'd love for him to rebound more. Again, if I'm being nitpicky, his assist percentage has gone back down a little bit, not doing what he was doing last year, but he's done so much other stuff so well. You have to tip your cap. So I'm thankful for Jaren Jackson Jr., as is Damichael. What are you guys thankful for? This Grizzlies gratitude on this Thanksgiving Eve edition of Locked On Grizzlies. Let us know in the comments or hit us up on X. I'm not thankful for Ja Morant being injured again, and we'll talk more about that coming up here on the podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhoodgold.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. This is kind of the Joe Mullinax Bowl this coming weekend. I don't know if you know this or not, partner, but the Washington Commanders, I believe, take on the Tennessee Titans. And it's going to be an interesting contest. My Commanders, completely lost their minds against the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully they can bounce back against a Titans team that is playing better of late. Maybe you get a hunch that Commanders are going to score in the third quarter or something like that. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. All right, Damichael, we were talking about gratitude a moment ago, being happy, being thankful, and I'm still thankful. I'm still in a good mood on this Thanksgiving Eve. Looking forward to eating good and spending time with family and friends.
My goodness.
But we do have to cover some negativity, a bit of a surprise, maybe not to Memphis Grizzlies beat writer Damichael Cole, but a bit of a surprise to fans. Ja Morant, not even questionable, not even doubtful. He was just flat out when the injury report hit on Tuesday night. Will not be playing against the Detroit Pistons tonight. We'll preview that game coming up on the show. But tell us a little bit about what Ja is dealing with, his level of activity at practice, if you saw any activity. Whatever you can tell us about the current state of play. Ja comes back for one game, puts up 3 or 4 highlight-type plays, and he's gone again. It's quite the tease.
Yeah, Joe, it is. That's a good way to put it. It is quite the tease. And here's the thing: when I reflect back on what happened in the game, what happened with Ja Morant getting hurt is it was in the second quarter. He banged knees with a player, with a Portland player, and he was gingerly moving around. He was clearly in pain. Like he was trying to how you're trying to fight through the pain, and he's making these facial expressions, but he's trying to walk it off. He had to go to the free throw line right after this. And the NBA rule, like if you don't shoot your free throws, you come out of the game and you cannot return. So he walks past half court line, walks all the way back, turns around, walks towards the free throw line, takes a nice deep breath, trying to gut it out. And the crowd kind of gives him an ovation. They're clapping. He knocks down both free throws. But as he gets back on defense, he's struggling. And He's struggling. He's struggling. And at that point, it was clearly a concern. Taylor Jenkins, the Grizzlies get the ball back. They call timeout. Ja Morant comes out of the game. But what everyone else saw was Ja came back in the game, finished the game strong, and that was that. But if you wanted to take it a step further, Ja came back into the game in the second quarter with 2 minutes left in the second quarter, a little under 2 minutes left. He finished the first half with 20 points and 6 assists. So in the second half, even though he only played the third quarter, I think he had 2 points in the third quarter and then 5 assists. So it was mostly passing pretty much at that point. And I say that to say that we didn't really like watching him. I don't really remember thinking in the moment like, oh, he's still really bothered by the knee. But when you bang knees with someone, it's one of those type injuries where when you finally get to sit down and you lay down, you have a good night's sleep. You wake up in the morning, it could swell up a little, it could be sore. There could be some soreness there, and it's a knee contusion, which is another term for like a bad bruise or whatever the case may be. So we saw Ja Morant. We did not see Ja Morant at the Grizzlies Season of Giving event on yesterday, which is when a lot of the players got together, gave back, a bunch of food items to some organizations that were kind of, targeting, the underserved community in Memphis. So the players, many of the players was there, but Ja Morant was not there. And this was shortly after the Grizzlies finished practice. So he did not practice, with that being said. As far as anything potentially long-term or concerns there, I would say this: we don't know enough at the moment to kind of like boldly, say one way or another. But based on what we do know, it is a knee contusion. Ja returned in that game, and you're playing the Detroit Pistons. So do with that information what you will, but we'll see. What the next couple days are like. It's an irritable feeling here, Joe, because he just got back and you saw how good the team was when Ja Morant's on the floor. Then it just gets taken right back from you. But yeah, that's kind of where we are right now on the Ja Morant injury front. He was definitely in pain during the game. After the game, he did give a quote. His quote was basically, he did not sound too concerned about it, by the way. And that is not always the case with Ja Morant when he gets hurt. He just said it was a little knee to knee. He called it a quick stinger. And, he says, everybody knows that I get back up every time. So that was his words. So, he gets back up every time, according to Ja Morant.
I hate that I have to ask this question, but I feel like I'm not being responsible. If you mentioned that it is the Detroit Pistons, it's also a game on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately is not an NBA Cup game, brother. So is it possible that the Memphis Grizzlies are resting Ja Morant because it's
the big time?
It's the Cup, Damichael Cole. We have to have him healthy for the Cup. Do you think that's part of their logic? They got to get in as a wild card in the knockout round, right, Damichael?
No, I don't think so.
Thank God. I'm so happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, they got two losses now. It's I mean, unless you win both these games by 40 points or something, or I don't think anyone's thinking about the knockout stage in the Cup.
Now,
right
the
now.
banged up Pelicans, that might be possible. Right?
They have been banged up, but the Grizzlies are probably going to get the Pelicans. It's just their luck of the draw right now with CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, all back on the floor. So probably no Zion, but you're going to get CJ McCollum, DeJounte Murray, Trey Murphy's back as well. And, so they got a couple of the pieces back there. Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum. It's something.
It's going to be hard to make it all about the Cup with the Pelicans coming back. Hopefully, again, you feel the sarcasm just dripping. I could care less about the NBA Cup. I'm fairly confident.
Ain't losing no sleep about it.
The Memphis Grizzlies clearly aren't either because they haven't won a game.
The fact that they're 0-6 in this, and you just don't care.
It's fantastic.
What number would they have to get to for you to finally beg them to win a Cup game? There's got to be a number.
There's no number. Like literally
20 consecutive losses in the cup, and just be
no.
5
I mean,
years
I would care because
from now.
they lost a basketball game, but I mean, that's the only reason why. The only reason I care is because I want them to win, because obviously it helps the guys
the
that
regular
aren't
season
on major money contracts, right? You've talked about that. That's extremely fair.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to go to Las Vegas. Like, that's a reason I want them to win. I want you to have a nice trip out to Vegas. And I also just want them to win because they're basketball games that are going on in a season.
Yeah.
Right.
They count for the record.
They count. So go win them. Right. Like that just makes sense.
Unless you make it to the championship. So basically what you're saying is if they get to the championship game of the cup, you don't care anything about it because it doesn't affect the record.
The Los Angeles Lakers are the inaugural in-season tournament winners, and their head coach got fired. It literally means nothing. It is irrelevant. Nobody cares.
It's like you got the Memphis Tigers in Maui right now, putting on a show, and you just
the Maui Invitational matters more than the NBA Cup.
Okay,
it's but not even close.
I think the NBA Cup's goal is to have something like a Maui or a Battle for Atlantis, those in-season college basketball tournaments. I think that's kind of what they're going for. Might take
those
time.
Are vastly more interesting to me and vastly more important in my mind. I just hate the NBA Cup so much, and we don't have to belabor it. But Ja Morant, if he wants to take Friday off, I'm fine with it. I want to stress that. Don't worry, don't rush back because it's the Cup, brother. It's the Cup. Don't worry about it, Ja. Get some rest. Eat some extra turkey on Thanksgiving. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we're going to finish out this episode previewing tonight's contest with the Pistons. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Bilt. PSA for anyone who rents. If you haven't heard of Bilt, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through Bilt. You don't even have to check with your landlord to start earning points that you can use towards flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you here. There is no cost to join Bilt, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Bilt points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones that you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world that you can redeem your Bilt points toward. Points can also be redeemed toward a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Bilt members can access. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning those points on rent that you're already paying by going to joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. JoinBilt.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points on your rent payments today. Damichael Cole, Grizzlies, Pistons tonight. We were talking a little bit before the show began. Obviously, the Detroit Pistons have a bit of a reputation for being really bad at basketball. But much like we were talking about earlier in the show, the Memphis Grizzlies are better this year than they were last. So too are the Detroit Pistons, coached by old friend JB Bickerstaff, I do believe. The Pistons are not nearly as bad as they have been previously. We're talking about a team that has Cade Cunningham playing at an all-star level. He probably won't make the all-star team because of how bad the Pistons are. But we say they're that bad, and they're in the mix as a play-in playoff team in the god-awful
Welcome to the Eastern Conference.
Goodness gracious. So maybe he can be an all-star in the Leastern Conference. See what I did there? Leastern. I'm sure that's happened. That can't be witty in any way. I'm sure that's happened a lot. But anyway, Cade Cunningham's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm excited to see him if he plays. He's a game-time decision going into the contest. Same thing with Tobias Harris. We know that Ja is out along with Vince Williams Jr., Zach Edey, Gigi Jackson. All those guys remain out. The Pistons beat the Raptors in their most recent contest, but they lost 3 games before that, including one to, again, the god-awful Charlotte Hornets. It's just bad to lose to that team. I know LaMelo is really good.
Putting up the numbers, but
he's all alone. It's really sad. So anyway, the Pistons are a hit-and-miss basketball team. They, like most teams, are better at home than they are on the road. How do you see the Grizzlies knocking off the Pistons? You've talked about it numerous times, partner. This is a stretch of basketball games that Memphis has to rack up some wins.
Yeah, with the Pistons here, the important thing to know about this team is their structure now. They have a defensive identity. This is a team that's in the top half of the NBA right now with their defense. Cade Cunningham has been a solid defender in the early part of his career. Jay Navi has really played well. He just had the buzzer beater, in their last game to win it. So Jay Navi is playing, really good basketball. We know kind of one of his comparisons coming out was Ja Morant in a way, but not because he was an exact comparison to Ja, but because of just the athleticism, the burst, the speed that he has. And you're going to see that some in this game. So those two guys, just very dynamic players. Again, I think what's helped them turn the tide defensively is bringing in, a couple of those guys like a Tobias Harris, who's been around for a while, good communicator, defensively, someone that I got to watch very closely while I was out there in Philly. And defensively, he's a very good communicator. Jalen Duren has been very good rebounder in the early stretch of his career. That's going to be a nice, tough matchup for the Grizzlies in terms of handling that matchup with him. He is one of the best young rebounders in the NBA. With all that being said, all that was said just to respect the Pistons. At the end of the day, there's still not enough over there to say they should beat the Grizzlies, even without Ja Morant being on the floor in this game. We saw in that last game, who barely was on the floor? Scottie Pippen Jr.
Pippen Jr.
I mean, he didn't play until I think it was 149 left in the first quarter. And then he played for a while. I think he didn't get taken out to like midway through the second quarter. At that point, played for a while. But you can tell Taylor Jenkins is really trying to figure out where he's going to find minutes for him when Ja is available. But now I say that to say that Marcus Smart got in before Scottie Pippen Jr. I think Scottie Pippen Jr. goes back. I'm in no way saying that Marcus Smart will get back in the lineup before him, but I'm just saying if that last rotation that we saw is any indication, I don't think it would be a huge surprise to see Marcus Smart in that role. But I don't know. I have I'm privy to no extra information in that regard. But whoever it is, I do think Marcus Smart and Scottie Pippen Jr. will get plenty of playing time. And whoever it is, the Grizzlies will still have Jaren Jackson Jr., who's been very consistent with the way that he's performed on both ends. Joe, I forget the exact streak that he's on right now. I think it was our guy over at Keith Parrish over at Fast Breakfast that tweeted the stat. But Jaren's on a run right now. I think it was 20 points, at least 20 points, 5 boards, 2 blocks, a steal, and a made 3-pointer in 5 consecutive games or something like that. So he's doing it all. He's doing it all.
That's pretty good. And you know who else usually plays pretty well against these Detroit Pistons? Desmond Bane.
Career high against them, right?
I like to envision that this is because there's reports that there was a promise or some sort of the Pistons told Desmond Bane that he was going to get picked.
You're going to take it there. You're going to take it there.
And he didn't get picked. And again, that's not confirmed. You may know more about that than me. But I've heard that once, and I've held on to that like it's gospel. It might be misinformation. But I have noticed, and I can't explicitly say how I've noticed, but I've noticed, utilizing a sponsor on this program today. I've noticed that when Desmond Bane plays the Detroit Pistons, taking the over on some numbers usually is a
smart idea
choice. So I think that if Desmond Bane struggles against these Pistons, I'll be a little bit more concerned about his current run of bad luck. I'm not that concerned overall, even if he does struggle. But again, historically speaking, this is a game that Desmond Bane gets up for whatever reason.
Yeah, for sure. I think last year was that extra game they added after the Cup where he had pretty much a career high. I forget what the number was, Joe. I think he had like 48. Like he was close to 50. He was very close to 50. And I think he was going for it. But big performance. And it was one of those rare early season wins that they had. So technically that wasn't a Cup game, but that was an added game to the schedule because of the Cup. So that's the way that it works. But Desmond Bane has played well, against this team. So we'll see how that works out because, again, like I just said, this is a much better defense than, all due respect to Monty Williams for the things that he did before. as a coach before he came with the Pistons, but that was clearly just a situation where he was like, all right, you want me to coach this bad? Fine, I'll do it. And now you got JB Bickerstaff, who we know, as cutting his teeth into interim in Memphis, and then with the other opportunities that he got, especially in Cleveland, this is an opportunity that he isn't taking for granted in any type of way. Like he is kind of embracing the role of kind of turning this team into a defensive minded. Detroit is historically known as one of those blue collar type of teams, and getting them back to that is something I'm sure he wants to do.
Absolutely. And he's the right guy for that job. I've always liked JB Bickerstaff. I think he's gotten a raw deal of it in the past. Cleveland is a good example of that, although it's hard to argue with the results that the Cavaliers
Kenny got those boys playing.
Yeah, he sure does. So, again, it's possible that it could work out both ways. I think JB makes a lot of sense for what the Pistons are trying to do. I'm excited to watch Desmond Bane. I think he's going to cook a little bit tonight. And I also think that you're going to see Scottie Pippen Jr. with those larger minutes and that bigger role. Yeah. Not quite what he did against the Bulls, but you should see him be more engaged and more active. I'm looking forward to watching him play tonight. Hopefully you are as well. Let Damichael and I know what you're looking forward to in the contest between Memphis and Detroit in the comments, or hit us up on X. The next time an episode of Locked On Grizzlies drops, Damichael will be flying solo. It'll be the Thursday edition of the show. Damichael, tell me you're going to have a turkey leg and you're just going to be gnawing on that thing for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm a ham guy, so yeah.
Went
over here. Yeah, I need my ham.
Ham's pretty good.
I have. Oh yeah. I like my ham with like a little honey on it, like a little honey baked.
Honey ham. So you're not a country ham guy. You're not a salt.
No. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah. We love ham. Period around here. So yeah,
there you go.
Can't go wrong either way. But no, all respect to the turkey people out there. All due respect to y'all.
Ham is delicious. I don't dispute
there
that.
We go.
To me, if you don't smoke or fry your turkey, I'm not interested. Like if you're still oven roasting and you have to put gravy on it, the meat doesn't need sauce. Like if you put A1 sauce on my steak, I'm going to be furious at you. That tells me that that's a trash steak. All you need is some salt, some butter, some garlic, some pepper. I'm set. Don't need any other sauces. Don't need any condiments. Turkey is one of those meats that you need that pretty consistently. But this is not Locked On Meat. This is Locked On Grizzlies.
Locked On Meat. There you
Locked
go, Joe.
On
He
cooked
paused
meat.
Everybody. We got him.
Locked On Cooked Meat.
Locked On Meat.
This is Locked On Grizzlies. Damichael's going to have a heck of a Thanksgiving episode, and then I will help you close out your week on Friday. Damichael will have the time with his family. I'm going to be with my family too, but they'll all be asleep, and I'll be able to record an episode heading into Friday. So you're getting a show every day this week, even with the holiday. Shout out to Damichael for that, and shout out to you guys for being with us each and every time an episode drops. Make sure you're subscribing to the Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. Go to lockedondaily.com, find how to subscribe, get Grizzlies content and national NBA content, fantasy basketball, all in one newsletter in your inbox for free. Check out lockedondaily.com and subscribe to the free Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing wherever you get podcasts. Proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Again, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. It's all good. Be a part of the conversation. Be a part of our experience here at Locked On Grizzlies, and make us a part of your NBA and Grizzlies media consumption each and every time an episode drops. For Damichael, I am Joe. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Enjoy it. Damichael will have you on Thursday. I've got you Friday. It's going to be a great end of the week here at Locked On Grizzlies. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're with us each and every day. Until tomorrow, have a good one.